Hello, my friend. Welcome back to the show. In this episode, I want to talk to the adulterous spouse and why you need to take full responsibility for adultery. Take full responsibility for what you did. I want to speak to you because if your spouse is going to heal or if the marriage is going to be salvaged, you need to take ownership of your mistake. Now, this is not for a person who's a serial cheater. This is not for you. But there are some that step out of the marriage and have made a big mistake about it, and eventually they try to cover it up. And now your business is in the open, it is naked to the world, to your family, to your friends. And now you must take ownership. And so, after the affair happened, I want to talk to you about 5 steps to true accountability. You heard it. 5 steps to true accountability. This is not for those of you that are messing around still. Now, while you will be held accountable, you won't be endlessly condemned. I don't believe in that. And the reason for that is because if you really want to heal and get better, you also need space for the healing process to happen. So let's walk through what this journey is going to look like for you. Number one, facing reality. You must look honestly at your choices without rationalizations. You must do it without blaming. You must do it without trying to figure out how you can make yourself look good. This is your reality. This is uncomfortable, but you got to own it. But when you blame, shift, or minimize, you continue arming your spouse and your family for what you did. You see, my friend, your choices create a ripple effect throughout your whole entire life and family. It impacts those that you love. Everyone that you love and everyone that loves you is impacted negatively by your behavior. So let's face the truth. Face it. Take ownership of it so that the healing process can begin. Number two, processing your emotion. You have emotion too. And it's natural to feel overwhelmed and guilt and shame because that's what we do. We want to cover our nakedness. We want to cover our pain. We want to cover the things that make us look bad. Some people blame the devil. I said it in the first episode talking about adultery that some spouse talk about their wives they were not attracted to their spouse anymore. I mean, that is very so painful. Or their husband is not sexy anymore. So instead of deflecting these feelings, you must learn to sit with them. You must learn to learn from them and realize that what you did is painful and it's devastating to your marriage and to your family and to everyone that is involved in it. There's a difference between I am a terrible person, which isn't helpful, versus I did something terrible. There are people that step out of the marriage and they're not really bad people. It's not something that they have done over and over and over again. I get it. Let's not be ignorant. Not everyone that committed adultery is a serial cheater. Some of them got distracted. Some of them had problems at home. They work around their colleagues and they hang out together. It becomes too close for comfort. But when you acknowledge your responsibility while leaving room for growth, something good can start happening to you because of this situation. Because in every disappointment, there's an equal or a greater seed of benefit that you often don't see right away. And that, my friends, why it's important for you to remember and to process your emotion. I want to also explore what it means to be vulnerable. Because vulnerability is not just for the person you hurt. It is also for you because something happened to you while you stepped out of the marriage. And you can also show vulnerability in regards to the infidelity without any excuse for what you did. Number three, you must develop real empathy. You need to truly understand your spouse's pain, not intellectually, but emotionally. And when you see the deep impact of your choices and how your actions and your behavior shattered their sense of reality, damages their place of security and their self-worth, you'll understand why healing requires so much work. You better roll up your sleeves and get to work, my friend. You better get to work Yep, roll up your sleeve and get to work. Because if this is going to work and if this is going to be salvaged or if you're going to be forgiven, and when I say forgiven, I'm talking about from a place of them taking you back, you have got to go to work. You got to do the work. So you got to show empathy. You got to put yourself in your spouse's shoe and feel what they feel. Ask yourself, if this was done to me, what would I do? If I was on the receiving end of adultery, how would I handle it? Because a lot of you guys are giving it, but you can't take it. Number 4, taking true ownership. Start saying, I choose to have an affair instead of it happened because I made a mistake. These are a great place to start. It is said that the best apology is changed behavior. Yes, changed behavior. So you must take ownership. Develop your disclosure narrative without minimizing or blame. In other, if you're disclosing the issues, how you got here, how did you end up in this space where you committed adultery? Take ownership of the roadmap that got you here without blaming your spouse for it. You got to change that behavior. It's not going to work because when you do, you're not helping your spouse. And you must identify and correct the distorted thinking that led you to justify your actions. Did you get that? To justify your actions. You have to own it. You have to take responsibility for it. Number 5, surrender your life to God. You see, what was lacking in your life is not more sex. What was lacking in your life is not another woman. What was lacking in your life is not some booty call. What was lacking in your life is God. You know, we hear about the 80-20 rules. People said that 80% of their marriage is working and their spouse would leave the 80% that's working and go find the 20%. Can I tell you? That is such a lie. It's malarkey. It's not even something that exists in the real essence of what really is taking place. Because the truth is, the 20% that you think is missing, it doesn't come from sleeping around. It doesn't come from affair. It doesn't come from hookup culture. It doesn't come from none of that stuff. That 80% is what's lacking in you is your relationship with God. It is your spiritual life that is dormant, that is dried up. It's in a drought. It's in a desert place. You need healing in your soul. You need healing in your body. You need healing in your mind. You need to surrender your life to God. The Bible said, what does it profit a man to gain the whole world and loses his soul? The soul that sinneth, it shall die. You have a soul problem. And until you get your soul right, you'll never be right, my friend. The next thing that you need to recognize and understand is this, that you must seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all things shall be added unto you. No flawed human being can be all things to you. Because when you step out of the marriage and you cheat on your spouse, especially for those of you that made a horrible mistake and you want to salvage the marriage, now you want to go to church. Now you want to be spiritual. Now you want to be led by God. Now you want to surrender your life to God. And that is a good thing because sometimes out of negative situation, God turns around things for the good. I've often maintained that God doesn't work from good to bad. God worked from bad to good. God worked from darkness to light. God worked from death to life. That's how God works. And so this negative situation is a testament to the reality that if you surrender your life to God and you give God everything, God can fix it and make it into something better. And I would love for God to do it for you. Oh, yes, I would really love for God to do it for you. And he can, if you would surrender your life to him and let him lead the way. And finally, number 6, making real amends. Apologize and do the right thing. But may I say to you, apologies aren't enough. You need concrete actions to build trust. You need to be doing the right thing, validating your spouse's pain without becoming defensive. You must be completely transparent. No hidden agenda. No hiding your passcode and your passwords and social media and all of that stuff. Your life is now an open book. If it was halfway open before, now it's going to be fully open. Show consistent behavioral change. And if your spouse decides to stay in the marriage, I got some news for you, my friend. You're not continuing where you left off. You're going to build a better marriage than the one you had before. And if you're not willing to do that, I'm going to tell you, don't bother. When we work with people to help them through this process, we tell them straight up, if you're willing to go to work, you're not willing to do what it takes, you're not willing to surrender, you're not willing to yield into God, you're not willing to build a better marriage than the one that you had before, which means that you have to go to counseling, you have to take ownership, you have to suck it up and take it like a man or like a woman, whoever you are. And you have got to help your spouse to deal with the pain and the trauma. And you're going to be a punching bag, but you got to be man enough and woman enough to take it if you decide to step out and cheat. And you have to go through that process. It might be a year, it might be 2 years, it might be 3 years, I don't know. But if you think the marriage is worth fighting for, then you have got to be man enough or woman enough to fight for it and make it better than the one that you had before. Because the healing process requires your changed behavior. But if you still remain the same, acting the same old, it only a matter of time before your spouse realizes that you're a joker and you ain't really serious about nothing and they just going to leave you. Yes, I said it. So you must follow through with your commitment about change. And if you're not following through on your commitment about change, then you're not taking responsibility for what you did. And taking responsibility isn't about punishing yourself forever. No, that's not what it's about. It's about creating a foundation for healing. Healing for your spouse first, and then healing for you, or healing your brokenness so that you can be better equipped now to love and serve in the marriage. Your willingness to do difficult work is the first step towards rebuilding trust and possibly saving your marriage. Your willingness to get dirty, to be naked, to be open, to be vulnerable, to be truthful, to be honest. That's what's going to help you. And my friend, that's it for this video. My question to you is, are you ready to begin the journey? I hope you are. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for listening on all platforms where you get your podcasts. I pray and trust that you were blessed by this. And if this is your story, if this is your reality, we're asking you to consider the fact that God can heal a broken marriage if you are willing to surrender your life and your marriage to God. And so may God bless you. Thank you again. I pray and trust that if you're dealing with this, that you'll find the healing process. You'll go through the healing process rather and get to a better place where you can learn to love again if the marriage is able to recover it. Thank you so much. May God bless you. And I cannot wait to see you in the next one.